Hello. So my topic is teaching controversial topics in the classroom. The question that I posed for myself was, how do I navigate class right now? And I'm always trying to relate how what I'm learning in my history class could be related to me teaching it to my future history students. And it's kind of tricky to navigate and help everybody feel safe in a space where sensitive topics are being taught. And so I was interested in learning a little bit more about effective ways to teach these things. Okay, so I did some research on the topic, and there were some really interesting thoughts that were brought up. The first one was to use unconventional strategies. I really liked this one because I think we kind of put ourselves in a box about how we talk about things. But one of the ways that it talked about specifically teaching immigration history was to use picture books and like themes throughout books because it can come off in like a very easy to understand way, but also get into some deep topics. The next point was to make connections. A lot of the different articles that I read suggested relating historical controversial issues to current issues so that students kind of can understand where this fits into history and how it relates to them today. And then the third thing from the research was to provide multiple perspectives. I think this can be really hard because it's easiest to just say what we think and what we know. But many of the different articles and things that I read talked about making sure that multiple perspectives are shown so that students can have a well-rounded understanding of history. Okay, so then I asked a teacher or an expert for some more information. So I interviewed Cassidy Baker, who's an AP World History teacher at Timpview High School. So some of the things that were similar that she said and the research did was the importance of making those connections. Talking about current events and making sure everything is applicable to the students so they understand why it's important. And also providing lots of different points of view. She agreed with that as well. Some additional insights that she had that I thought were important, where she, first of all, she felt like it was super important not to gloss over these controversial issues, which I really agree with, and I think that's important. A lot of times we want to keep to the easy things, but it's important to not just gloss over it, but to make it a big part of our classroom. She also said to help set your students up for success in the discussion. So she said that a lot of times she'll even just start the conversation by saying, we're talking about some controversial issues today. Like we want to look at lots of different points of view and really just like telling the students so that they don't go into it blind, but know what's happening. She also said to make it a human issue. A lot of times students can easily see like a distinct group of people and just not understand why they made the choices that they made. But if we make it a human issue rather than like a religious issue or a racial issue, then it can become something that everybody can relate with. And the last thing she said was to create well-designed inquiry activities so that the students are researching and finding information that's credible and forming opinions of their own. These are a few of the resources that I used to find the information for my research. So what does this all mean? I feel like, first of all, I learned that planning is huge. If we plan well, then these lessons about controversial and sensitive topics can go really smoothly and can be really beneficial to our students. But if we don't plan, then we don't know what we're going to run into. Also, I feel like it's really important to help every student feel like the issue is important to them. Sometimes people are removed from the issue, but if they understand how it applies to them, then they will care a little bit more and it can become a really positive discussion. The last thing was not to let your views be the most prevalent. And this, I feel like, is something that really helps me just understand teaching in general, that, you know, yes, you are the professional, but you're not there teaching your opinion, but you're there helping students learn and learn lots of different points of view. But while there's so much information here and I learned a lot, when we receive more answers, we honestly just end up with more questions. So one thing that was kind of hard for me to grasp was, how do I as a teacher suppress my own views and opinions while still being myself and making things feel natural and normal? You know, I definitely want to have a really inclusive classroom and share lots of points of view, but I also want to make sure that I'm myself and that students know who I am in a positive way. So that's my inquiry project. I had a really good time learning more about this topic, and I hope that I can apply it in my future classes.